Last video, we added grass, stone, and dirt layers to our landscape. We found out pretty quickly that manually painting everything can be tedious. Instead, let's use a mask. Think of it like a stencil. We will create rules to paint dirt and stone only on the parts of our landscape we want. For our stone material, we want to apply it to parts of the mountain where the slope is steep. So let's create a slope mask material. Right-click the context menu and select new material. Let's name it M_slope mask. Then let's apply the mask to our landscape, just to see what it is doing. Select your landscape in the Object Outliner, go to Landscape section, then set the landscape material to M_slope mask. It might take Unreal a couple seconds to update the landscape in your viewport. Now let's open up our slope material, and to confirm it is displaying our material, add a cons3 vector node, make it red, and pass it into the base color. Then if we save, it should turn our landscape red. Alright, cool. So for our actual mask, we want to paint stone only on the parts of the landscape that have a steep slope. So our mask needs to calculate a location slope and make it paintable if it is steep enough. So how do we do this? Well, we'll compare the location's normal vector with the normal vector that points straight up. We will then quantify how similar the two vectors are by calculating their dot product. In linear algebra, the dot product is found by multiplying each vector's magnitude by the cosine of their angle. You don't need to know all the details. You just need to know that for two normalized vectors, the dot product will return 1 when the two vectors are parallel, 0 when perpendicular, and -1 when opposite. Let's see how this works in our landscape mask material. Right-click and select dot product. Then right-click again and get a vertex normal world space node. Let's pass that into the first input of dot product. Then right-click and add a cons3 vector node. Set it to 0, 0, 1, so it is pointing straight up along the z-axis. Pass that into the dot product. Then pass the result of the dot product into our base color. Looking at our material preview, we get a gradient where the top is white and the bottom half is black. This makes sense, since the top of the sphere's normals face up. As we reach the sides of the sphere, they turn black, since the normals are perpendicular to straight up. Here's another example of a cube with the slope mask material applied to it. Let's set the scene to unlit. We can clearly see the sides are black because they are perpendicular to the straight up green arrow. As we rotate the cube, the side becomes more parallel with the straight up vector, and it becomes more white. Now if we jump back to our landscape, everything is looking pretty white. We need to adjust the sensitivity of the slope mask to make black portions appear. Now what's nice is Unreal actually has a built-in node for all this, called slope mask. In our material, right-click and search for slope mask. If we double-click it, we can see its content. It should look pretty familiar. It is taking in two vectors called tangent, which is our straight up vector, and slope angle, which is our vertex normal world space vector, and finding their dot product. It then applies a power node to control the fall off, and a contrast node to control how crisp the border between white and black is. Back in our material, the default value for tangent normal is 0, 0, 1. That is what we want, so let's keep it. For the slope angle, we'll pass in the vertex normal world space node. But first we have to pass it through a transform vector node. The slope mask is expecting tangent space values, and the vertex normal world space node returns world space values. So select transform vector, and we can specify we are going from world space to tangent space. Then for fall off power and cheap contrast, let's add scalar parameters and set their default values to the default values slope mask already uses. Now if we pass in the results of the slope mask to the base color, it should look pretty similar. Let's make a material instance of slope mask and apply it to our landscape. Once it's applied, open your material instance, and we can start adjusting the params to get the results we want. Let's start by increasing the fall-off power. If we bump it all the way up to 13, we see lots of black on the steeper slopes of the mountain. It's already looking pretty good. One thing to notice though is that the slopes are being painted black. We want the slopes to be white and the flat parts to be black. Inversing the color isn't hard. Go back to the material and add a 1- node and pass its result into the base color. Just like that, it is reversed. Go ahead and play around with things a bit. Adjust the contrast and fall off to see how it changes the mask. Let's jump ahead, but I eventually settled on a fall off of 6 and a contrast of 1. Now that we've seen how our slope mask works, let's reapply our landscape texture. I deleted all my landscape layers earlier, so right now it's just showing black. Open your landscape material and we will create another layer for our slope blending. If you don't have a landscape material, go check out our previous video. Select Landscape Layer Blend and add another layer. I'll name it Slope Stone Dirt for now. Then let's get our stone material and dirt material and feed them into the Blend Material Attributes node. The alpha will be our mask. Go to our mask material and copy paste its nodes. Don't forget to change the fall off and contrast values to what we chose for our landscape. For me, it's 6 for fall off and 1 for contrast. Then let's drag off the blend materials node and create a named reroute node. Let's name it Slope Stone Dirt and let's feed it into the landscape layer blend. Now if you go to our level, go to landscape mode, paint, we can import our layers and create a layer information object for Slope Stone Dirt. If you are using Unreal Engine before 5.7, the button will show a pop-up. Select Weighted Blend. If you're using Unreal Engine 5.7 or later, open the Landscape Layer Info object and set its blend method to Weighted Blending Legacy. Once that's set, select the slope layer and try painting it on our scene. Looks like it's working, but the dirt and stone are reversed. Let's go back to our material and fix that real quick. Okay, that looks pretty good, but let's change the dirt to grass. That's looking a lot better. We do want there to be some dirt between the stone and grass though, so to fix that, let's blend grass and dirt and then blend that result with stone. We will end up with a transition from grass to dirt to stone. Back in our material, update the blend to use grass and dirt. Then let's create another Blend Material Attributes node and pass the blend results into A and stone material into B. For alpha, we will duplicate the slope mask nodes. Then let's rename the fall off and contrast params to be more descriptive. I'll do fall off and contrast dirt grass for the dirt and grass blend, and then dirt stone for the second blend. Then let's rename our reroute node to slope grass dirt stone and rename our layer too. Looks like renaming our layer broke stuff in our landscape, so let's delete the old layer and re-import to show slope grass dirt stone. If we paint, we'll see the result. Now, if we pull up the material instance, we can adjust the blending of our grass, dirt, and stone. You'll want to play with these values. Here are the values I ended up picking, but you can see what works for you. We've barely scratched the surface, but that's good enough for our forest project. If you like this video, please subscribe and stick around. Next video, we will be adding the trees to our procedural forest. Thanks. Bye.